Hello Guardians and welcome to The Catch Up, where hopefully I get to bring you up to speed on what's going on right now in the season of Splicer. There is a lot happening in Destiny right now, well, lore-wise anyway, and even though there is a stronger focus in bringing those plot elements to the front and center of players' perspectives in recent seasons, there's still a lot to be discovered in the lore cards and gear tabs. Most of what we're going to cover today is sourced from My Name is Bife content and also from my own personal experiences in the game. And hopefully by the end of this quick little video, you'll have a good understanding of what's going on right now in Destiny. Just quickly before we jump in, as you'll notice the background footage is of me doing this week's Corrupted Expunge mission. It's the first one in Season of the Splicer. I figured I'd mix it up with a bit of commentary and also a story recap because it's practically the same as the first week's expunge, which I've been covering for the last 3 weeks. So starting from the beginning, let's talk about the Vex simulation, the Endless Night, which has been cast over the last city. This simulation has already caused a lot of mental duress within the citizens of the last city, but it also has a more targeted and sinister goal in mind, which is to drain the city's resource via a special Vex code that was triggered when scientists sent in probes to understand what the Endless Night was made of. But why would the Vex do this? And why now? If it was something that the Vex could have always done, it wouldn't make sense for them to have waited so long. And it's too much to go over right now, but the Vex have long been documented as a race that goes along a predicted path of success so that their species will always survive. So when it comes to the last city, which is protected by the Guardians, they won't attack it because they can't guarantee a successful outcome as they cannot predict the Guardians. Getting back on track now, let's talk about our Guardian's first trip into the Vex network. We get in, do our thing, Mithrax provides us an exit, and we try to get out. But before we can, the system tries to collapse in on itself to kill us in the process. And in that moment, we briefly get a glimpse of a shady Vex Hydra just floating around. This is Quadia, and it is a Vex mind that was taken by the OG baddie daddy Oryx himself. But these days, since he's dead and all, Quadia has become a tool of his sister, Savathun, the Witch Queen. This isn't the first time we've seen Quadia and Savathun's handiwork as well, as they are responsible for the curse that has taken hold of the Dreaming City. So now that Savathun is in the picture, the Vex's assault on the last city with the Endless Night makes a lot more sense. It's not about finding a successful outcome for the Vex, but more leading the last city to be in a weakened state for when Savathun makes her move. That isn't all that's at play right now. Lakshmi too and the future war cult have made efforts to sow distrust in the House of Light Elixir that have taken refuge in the city. And they are doing this on the basis of a prediction that Lakshmi has received from the device, which foresees a future where the city is in ruins and the Elixir are in the center of all the fire and rubble. And Lakshmi is believing that this means the House of Light Elixir have taken up arms against the last city and caused all this destruction. At least, that's what we thought at the start of the season, but as we've learnt through some weapon lore tabs, this is actually a future that she is purposely trying to create, as it is one where she ends up becoming the dictator of the last city, after ousting Ikora and Zavala from leadership positions. At the moment, it's unclear if Lakshmi is just doing this completely of her own will or if she is under Savathun's influence, but in any event, we do know for sure that Savathun does have her claws on the minds of the citizens within the last city. As we learnt from Lakshmi, they have started singing a tune that is eerily similar to Savathun's song. Have a listen to it now.
Have you heard the song of the people echoing through the city? Rise up as one, march toward the sun.
I'm on the moon. It's made of cheese.
We first heard this back when Shadowkeep launched, and it was most notably present in the opening screen of when we loaded into the game, but also within the Devil's Ruin exotic quests. We hear Shax sing it at the end of it, as he and Saint 14 have a bit of back and forth banter. This chant has become so viral that it's now easier to count who isn't infected than who is infected. And it's believed that through this chant, people who are affected by it are easier to manipulate by Savathun's persuasions. But just as the Vex can't predict Guardians, I also believe that Savathun's song won't be as effective on Guardians who still have their light, And I say who still have their light because we're going to cover Osiris now, who is a former light bearer, and it's unclear if he is already under the effect of Savathun, but recently he has been making a lot of weird choices that, up until now, our understanding of Osiris, he wouldn't have made those choices normally. Most notably, last season he brought the Crown of Sorrow back to the last city for further study, and in this season, in the first week of the Corrupted Expunge missions, he mentions he wants to capture Quaria, not kill. I personally believe it could go a couple of ways here with Osiris. Either he is under the influence of Savathun, and without his knowledge he's playing right into her hand and helping to deliver another crippling blow before she makes her move. Or he is realizing what is happening with Savathun, and together with Ikora and possibly even Eris in the background, they are formulating a plan where they are hoping to draw out Savathun's move before she's ready to make it, or lure her into a trap. Because Osiris is never the type to just sit around and wait for something to happen, he always needs to be taking action, and since he can no longer utilize his light or the infinite forest, this would be his next best play by putting himself into a position of being a political pawn for the Vanguard. There is nothing to suggest this in the lore or the game or any Bife videos, but that's just something I've thought of in the background here. There was other stuff that's happened in this season up until this point, but I believe these are the key things that you need to be aware of as we move on through the next few weeks and the rest of the season. So with that in mind, keep your eyes up, Guardian, and just remember, we make our own fate. Quaria and Savathun be damned.